But I think that surgical residency is incompatible with motherhood in a number of ways, and this story is an example of that. I just got off a call with a friend from training, and we were talking about crazy stories. And I want to tell you about a crazy PSN story that happened with me. PSN, where I worked for residency in our hospital, was called the Patient Safety Network. It was a website that you could log into and submit anything that you wanted. You could put your name on it, or it could be anonymous. And this website was used for patients, for any hospital employee. Anyone could submit anything. So one day I get a call from my chair. That is never a good thing when you are a senior resident. It's like, oh no, the principal's calling. It's never a good thing. Like, you're always in trouble. And he goes, Lauren, I just got off a call with the hospital attorney, and I want to let you know you're not in trouble, but you can't do what you did again. And I was like, okay. So let's rewind a few days. I was a 5th-year surgical resident. So I was one of the chief residents that oversaw our whole department of patients. Residents have a lot of autonomy as they get older. And so the attendings relied a lot on us to go do stuff, execute things, talk with patients, talk with families, keep the residents all in track, do all the scheduling. I mean, it was a lot, which is why you work 80 hours a week. Sometimes my friends in non-healthcare roles would be like, what the hell do you do for 80 hours a week? I'm like, oh, believe me, I work actually more than 80 hours a week. But so I don't know exactly what day of the week it is. Let's say it was a Thursday evening. I was not on call that evening. So I knew that at 5 o'clock, any like big emergency type things would go to the other senior resident on call. Very rarely did my husband go out of town during residency because my schedule was so horrible and unreliable, and I would often get stuck places. But I think he was out of town for like 1 to 2 days. And my son at the time was 1. He was like he was like a new one. He like wasn't even really walking yet. He was still like pooping in his diapers, like he was 1. And his daycare closed at 6:30. So I knew I had a good runway. I had at least 90 minutes for me to leave work and go pick him up. So 5 o'clock rolls around. It was very like vanilla day, not anything too crazy. I think it's probably like 5:45. I'm driving from the hospital to his daycare. I'm almost in the parking lot, and one of my attendings calls me. Even though I'm not on call, every time one of your bosses calls you, you got to answer the phone. And at our program, how many attendings did I have? I don't know, 15 to 20. So he calls me and he's like, hey, Lauren, I just received a call from a patient that was direct admitted to our hospital under our service. I want you to go and just chat with the mom, examine the child, and basically tell them the plan of care. And to me, that was like no big deal. I was like, of course, I'll go run and do that. It was after 5. But again, residency like kind of takes over your life. It is what you do and what you live for. And of course, like me going and running to do that, I was like, of course, I'll do that. Like if I were the mother in that situation, I would want someone from the admitting team to come chat with me and let me know the plan for my child and like what the working diagnosis is. So I picked up my son and we drove to the hospital, everything was really close where I did training. So I just unbuckled him. We walked into the hospital. I still had my scrubs on, my name badge, and then my 1-year-old son was on my hip. The patient was also not in critical condition. I think that may give some context to the story. I won't give too much information away, but was stable and basically had some infectious thing going on, and we were going to treat with IV antibiotics. Had already had scans at the outside hospital that we had in our system that had been transferred, and like we could see everything. So basically, and it had labs already. Like already had an IV, just transferred to a tertiary care center where we would then take over. So I go into the room. I actually ask the mom. I introduce myself first. I say I'm Dr. Lauren Umstead. I'm the chief resident on service. I'm actually not on call right now, so I had already picked my son up at daycare. Do you mind, like, if I hold him while we chat for a few minutes? And the mom was like, no, of course not. That's totally fine. Like, thank you for coming. At this point, it's like probably 6:15. The mom was like, thank you so much for coming and chatting. Like, I really appreciate you coming in person versus a phone call. And so at one point, and I would say my 12-month-old was like very normal. He was exhausted after daycare, so we just kind of like sat there and listened. He didn't really like do a whole lot. I did set him down at one point in the room and I examined the child, briefly. So I thought the interaction was very like normal, benign. I leave. And I will mention that at one point, the patient's nurse came into the room to listen to the plan, which I think provides great communication for the team. Whenever we would round on patients, whether it was in the morning or the afternoon, we would always, and this wasn't mostly on us, a lot of times we would round at inconvenient times, like during handoff and things. So sometimes the nurses wouldn't be able to be there, but a lot of times if they could at least hear a bit of what we were telling the patient or the patient's family, then we were A-okay. So let's fast forward back to my call with my chair. Someone in the hospital submitted a complaint that I had violated HIPAA and privacy because I had brought my son in with me when I was rounding on this patient, and how inappropriate that was, and how we shouldn't be bringing family members in to the hospital when we're at work. I was flabbergasted when I read the complaint. Again, it was anonymous. I assume it was from someone that worked on that floor that saw me go in with my son. I got no heebie-jeebie feelings the patient was too young, couldn't type out something like that. But the mom was like overly grateful and thankful. Perhaps it could have been the mom who changed her tune. But I get a sense that it came from someone on the floor. And I just think that I have so many thoughts about this, and maybe I'll make a part 2 if the video does well. So if you like the video and you want to know more, just like the video and comment with questions.